And we are live. It's 5 p.m. Friday night Pacific time. And you know what time it is. It's time for Erik Wait Live. One of the reasons, among many others, I do my live streams on Friday nights is because I like to have something to look forward to at the end of a long work week. Putting in something like this in the middle of the week, for me, it'd be like, I got to get up in the morning. You know what I mean? So working hard all night, working hard all week, craziness going on. At the end of Friday, hey, you can kick back, drink some whiskey, hang out, chat a bit, learn a bit about whiskey, and don't have to get up in the morning or anything like that. So I really like doing Friday nights. This week's been really, really, really crazy. It's good things and crazy things. Remember from last week, I had kidney stones. I'm about 95% over it. So even after the kidney stone passes, you still have some aches and pains you kind of go through, but 95% over. So I'm glad that's done. We had some crazy ass storms this week. I'm not going to give you a full weather report, but basically, I think it was like Monday night. It was as somebody was outside my window going, and then the branches from the trees smacking upside the house. And who could sleep with that, right? Crazy. And then there's just the day ins and day outs of bullshit at work that's stressful. So enough of that. Now time to drink some whiskey. Let me get stuff a little bit poured here. But one of the things I'm really, really, really into, and we're going to do all kinds of things about whiskey, is you can't beat going there, right? Get on a plane, or if you can drive, go there, visit the distillery. There's a beauty, whether you're even in Texas or in Kentucky or even distilleries here in California, there's a certain unique beauty to the place. So I like to if you can't go there in reality, try to go there virtually. Before I get going any further, Keith Otterman, thanks for tuning in, man. How you doing? Michael C2 2019, Jack White, Michael Gonzalez, Matt D, Michael Hassler. Got a lot of them, the usual crowd here. Mike Bennett, how you doing, you old man? I can say that because he's older than I am. I'm one of the few that probably is that tends to show up for these shows. Celebrated his 60th last week. All right. So Stephen Crabtree, thank you very much for tuning in. So one of the things we whiskey tubers tend to get knocked on a lot, including myself, is our tendency to mispronounce things, right? Now, some like Scott and Bart over at Scotch Says Dummies, they don't care. Daniel Whittington over at the Whiskey Vault, he'll intentionally mispronounce things just to read the comments afterwards. So get messed with a lot about how you mispronounce. But I've heard Ralphie, pronounce things that weren't quite correct. So when he does it, then I don't feel so bad. So I got a short little video clip of someone who's going to help us with the pronunciation. Jimmy Jazz, how you doing, man? No Man's Van, how you doing? So let me show you a little clip here of someone who actually, supposedly, as far as we can tell, I'm going to play it a couple times, knows how to pronounce the name of the distillery we'll be looking at this evening.
Tomintoul.
I'll play it again.
Tomintoul.
Let me first, before I go any further, did you guys hear that all right? Could you hear that all right? Say yes or no. Let me know. Was the volume too low, or was it working all right? Wait till I get a response. In the meantime, start pouring some whiskeys. Got here the Tomintoul low. Okay. Volume was low. I'm going to see if I can do it again and see if it comes out any better. Volume was too low. I don't know if this will help or not. I'll try it one more time.
Tomintoul.
Was that any better? Is that any better? Anyway, so it's Tomintoul, not Tomintoul. 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 So like a towel. You got to shower, got to use a towel, and then someone named Tomintoul. I don't know if you recognize that guy or not. He's really still low. All right, sorry about that. Next time I will crank it up. I don't know if you recognize him. Okay, but you can hear. All right, cool. I don't know if you recognize him or not. He is a really, really, really good actor. Scottish actor. I'll put up a picture of him in a couple of the movies. I first saw him in the early X-Men. He played William Stryker. His name is Brian Cox. and a really, really good movie. And there's unfortunately, there's two movies with the same title, and he's in both of them. One of them is called Red, and it's actually Retired Extremely Dangerous, and it's a movie with Bruce Willis. And if you haven't seen that movie, I highly recommend it. It's got action, it's got comedy, and two different love stories. And he's in that movie as well. Really, really, really good actor, and sort of very Shakespearean, I would say, in terms of his background, and playing more of the classic roles he's in. But that is a good Scotsman actor. Brian Cox pronouncing for us Tomintoul. All right. So speaking of which, let me pour my Tomintoul. There you go, Tomintoul. Tom is wearing a towel. So I already reviewed this earlier this week. I liked it. Basically, I'm going head-to-head with two peated whiskeys from the same distillery. I've never done that before. Nope, I don't think I've ever done that. I've always compared one distillery with another one. But we're going to go head-to-head between the Peaty Tang, and I'll cover the notes on this in just a second. But one of the things, in addition to tasting various whiskeys and actually go there, if you can't actually go there, the next best thing is search around on the interwebs and find out if you can get really good visual videos. So I want to show you the beauty of Tomintoul Distillery and how it probably looks right now. This video clip is going to be a little bit longer, but pour yourself something if you haven't already, and here we go.
Jump into the car on a Friday night, I want to drive with you. Looking for a bar in the nearest town, I've never seen a sky so blue. We don't ever play it and the night is young, it doesn't matter what we do. There ain't nobody like you. Look so beautiful, and I'm so lucky to be yours. And you're taking me high, ain't nobody like you. I'm not coming down, ain't nobody like you. I could go 1,000 miles as long as I'm with you. Yeah, you're taking me high, ain't nobody like you. Talking by yourself and you make me smile, I can listen all night long. I tell you about the town when I first met you, listening to our favorite song. Walking on the street when you caught my eyes, something about the way you move. No, there ain't nobody like, so lucky to be yours. And you're taking me high, ain't nobody like you. I'm not coming down, ain't nobody like you. I could go 1,000 miles as long as I'm with you. Yeah, you're taking me high, ain't nobody like you.
Alrighty, that one actually might have been too loud. I don't know. I should probably do more tests to see how it comes across, but hey, there you go. Scotch Comic, thank you much for tuning in. Stephen Craig, is this the Taylor? Yes, it's the Taylor Swift show. So that's actually a group called Wildflowers, and it's a song that I have a license to. So the music that was originally behind that video, I had to take that off because I don't have a license for it. So in order to share that video, I have a right to it. So yeah, it's not that it's a no copyright song. It's that I have a right to it. So I subscribe to Epic. I don't want to talk too much about a little bit. Going Pentecostal here to Epic Sound, to Epic Sound, and so there's a lot of licensed music on there. So if you have a license through Epic Sound, you can use various songs. So most of the music for my videos come from Epic Sound. There's one song that I tend to use a lot. Hey, George Stewart, excuse me, Sever. Thank you very much for tuning in. There's one song that I actually use a lot, and I was using it before the Vault did, but the Vault uses it for their Magnificent Bastard videos, whatever. It comes from Epic Sound. So anyway, all righty. So I poured myself a couple glasses. So I actually talked to Roy. So where I work, we shut down for like a week or two around Christmas time. And I thought, shut down for a week. It'd be a cool time. Go over to Scotland, revisit, go to distilleries. I would like to visit Scotland in the cold, in the rain. See, I've been there in June. I've been there in July, but I've been told, that's not the real Scotland. If you really want to visit Scotland, you got to go when it's really, really cold and raining. Although, when I was there in July 2019, and I was way up north, I was at Old Pulteney Distillery. If you watch my video on Old Pulteney Distillery, it was 40 degrees and raining. So it was cold and raining. So if it's that cold and raining in July, you can imagine what it might be this time of year. Tony O'Neill, thank you much for tuning in. So I'm going to get more and more into these whiskeys as we move along. Just first give a quick little nosing. So Old Ballantruan, number 10. I've already reviewed this earlier in this current series. This one, the Peaty Tang, I reviewed earlier this week. I'm going to take a quick sip, but we're going to get more into looking at the distillery. So in studying wine or studying whiskeys, I am into the people, the place, the history, and the production. So we can put people, place, production, and I'm thinking of and the past. There you go, the past. Keep them all P's, right? Good alliteration. So when it comes to studying wine and whiskey, I want to know their past. I want to know the people. I want to know the place. I want to know their productions. So all P's, right? So when studying whiskey, those are the things I focus on. So I know history can get a little bit dry, and a lot of other channels, they're never going to cover any of this because it's mostly, particularly doing live streams, it's just about hanging out and drinking whiskeys and have a jolly good time. But hey, this is a Whiskey Study channel. This is what we do. But I think studying history gives you a great appreciation for what it takes to get to where they're at. I would say a lot of complaints that people have about distilleries or the whiskey industry, if they understood history, they would have a better understanding of why things are the way things are and better understanding of what it would take to make the changes that we would like to see them change. Because people, tradition, okay, they don't change overnight. We've been doing this for a long period of time. There was a very good reason as to why we were doing it back then. And sometimes they kind of need to get with the times and change. I'm not going to talk about this, but basically it's a use of E150, cold chill filtering, and add an E and those kind of things that we don't like, right? If you notice, there's a lot more newer distilleries and sort of young startups. They start off right from the bat cutting that stuff out, like Teeling, right? You look at Teeling's distillery over in Ireland, baseline is 46%, no added filtering, no added coloring. That's like their baseline for everything they do. And so an older distillery that's been doing these things a long period of time, and culturally there was a reason why they were doing those things, and they don't really realize like the modern consumers, are not into that. You can stop spending money on E150, and your business will do fine, and you'll actually save some money, right? But it takes a while to change. But if you understand the history as to why they were doing things the way they were doing them, one of the reasons why, and I'm kind of getting off topic, is the impact of the color of sherry casks. And that's just one reason why. There's many others, is they want to sort of imitate the coloring that a sherry cask would provide. Because a lot of times they would use sherry cask or something called pexaret to add some color, which is like kind of like a sherry syrup, best way I could describe it, to add coloring. But E150 was sort of a replacement of using pexaret. All right, but I'm not going to talk about that. We're going to get back and talking about Tomintoul. Luna Aaron, thank you much for tuning in. So I got another short little clip. This is going to become a little bit of a clip show. I don't want it to dominate everything, but one of the challenges of doing a live stream by yourself It's easier if you have two people and you can kind of dialogue, back and forth, just going back and forth. It's a lot easier. Doing a live stream by yourself is really, really challenging. Some whiskey tubers who don't have a co-host, all they're doing is reading comments on the chat. Well, there's nothing wrong with that. Reading comments in the chat, responding. I respond to some comments, but the whole show is if they don't have a good chat flow, they don't have anything to respond, and they'll just sit there and read quotes because they can't carry a show on by themselves. So one of my goals for 2021 was to revive the live stream, because I quit doing it for a while. I started at the beginning of December to revive the live stream, and bring in more content and something for me to sort of bounce off. So I'm using this sort of content, just explaining what's going on. It's sort of something for me to interact and share with, and to sort of bounce off of. So going to have a short little clip. It's going to be a little bit of background information about Tomintoul Distillery. Tomintoul Distillery. So another video clip I put together, and it's short, but I don't have any quizzes. I don't have quizzes or anything like that, but I think it'll help with a little bit of background. Here we go. Tomintoul Distillery was founded in 1964, founded by Hay and McLeod and W&S Strong. In the year 2000, it was sold to Angus D, who also owned Glencadam Distillery. The master distiller is Robert Fleming. The water is sourced from Ballantruan Spring. They have 6 stainless steel washbacks, 3 larger and 3 smaller. They have 2 wash stills and 2 spirit stills, which are steam heated. And they have a capacity to produce 3,300,000 liters of pure alcohol per year. So when I was getting ready to kick off my current series on Highland peated whiskeys, I sent emails to any distillery that did not provide the information about ppms and all that kind of stuff, and whether it's cold filtering or anything like that. I sent emails to the distilleries basically the same. Hello, my name is Erik Wait. I have a YouTube channel. I'm going to be reviewing one of your whiskeys over the next couple of months. Could you provide this information, right? Because they don't put it on the website. This is another issue which distilleries need to get with the times, right? This is why we like John Glazer over at Compass Box, because he provides loads of information. And then you have Waterford Distillery over in Ireland, who maybe provides too much information. It's just like, you kind of get drowned in it. It's so much information on the website. Appreciate it, especially as a whiskey geek. Appreciate it. But a lot of distilleries, particularly those owned by Diageo, don't provide a lot of background information. Obviously, this is not owned by Diageo. So they think the average consumer is not interested in this information. And it's not true. People are getting more and more interested, geekier about their beer, about their wine, about the whiskey. It wasn't that long ago which distilleries didn't have tasting rooms. They didn't have visitor centers. The visitor center, tasting room, doing tours phenomenon is actually a somewhat recent phenomenon in Scotch distilleries. You figured that Scotch distilleries have been around for a couple hundred years. They were not originally built for visitors. But even like the more average consumer is getting really, look at the whiskey tuber phenomenon that's going on. People want to know, people want to visit. So if Tomintoul Distillery and any other distilleries watching this, we want more information. We want transparency. We want, any background information about regarding the casks, coloring or not, cold filtering, where the cask come from, anything that you can legally provide on the website, we want. So even if I don't necessarily remember it all, like to geek out and like to know about this, because why does this taste? Why does this taste and smell the way it does? Why does this one smell and taste the way this one? We want to know. And that background information, even if we can't fully understand it completely, we get it. And we like to visit distilleries to get a tour, to get background information. That's why the whiskey industry is training people. That's why you have the whiskey ambassador training people. That's why you have the Edinburgh Whiskey Academy. That's why you have all kinds of training going on to train people to interact with customers. And tourism, I know not now because of our current circumstance, our current the tourism is huge. It's huge. The employment of people for the tourism industry in Scotland is huge. So I know I'm talking to the choir here, but we want to know, provide us with the information. So a couple of things about the video I just showed you. So when they say the capacity is basically 3.3 million liters per year, that doesn't mean that they run at capacity and how much they actually produce. That's based on the current equipment of what they have. That's what they can produce. They're only going to produce as much as they can turn around and age and sell. You don't want to overproduce because then you end up with a glut in the market. Also, Tomintoul, a lot of what they produce doesn't go into their own bottlings. They also produce that goes outwards, that goes somewhere else into blends. So not everything that they produce goes into their actual whiskeys. Adam B says, "Good day, Eric. Thank you very much for tuning in." Christopher Malloy, thanks for tuning in. Tony O'Neill, Aaron Hardiman, thanks for tuning in. And Floyd DN06 for tuning in. Thank you very much. All righty. So Ballantruan, the water comes from the Ballantruan Spring, which is where this whiskey gets its name from. And let's take a look at the basic profiles of these two whiskeys in case you didn't see my previous video. You know what? I think there's one more slide I wanted to share, which I meant to start off at the beginning. Let me show this one real quick. So where are we at? Where's the distillery at? We're in Speyside. So if you look at the map on your left, you can see the little red dot there. Speyside, sort of northeast in Scotland. There's about 47 distilleries. Some sources say 50. I counted 47. There's about 47 distilleries out of about 130. And yet the region produces about 50% of Scotland's whiskey. I've been to Speyside. I've been to a lot of these distilleries on this map, the map on your right. And you can see Tomintoul is underlined in red. But I haven't been to this particular distillery yet. Of course, right now, unfortunately, due to our current circumstances, a lot of distilleries aren't open to the public because of COVID. But slowly, incrementally, they'll all come back. Loon Aaron says, "Did you get the Ballantruan at Tomintoul directly?" No. So most of the whiskeys, I'll have some coming up in the future. Most of the whiskeys that I've been reviewing, I've either bought them at a local shop or I've had them shipped to me. Tomintoul, I bought at a local store. The Ballantruan 10, I ordered online. Wow. All right. Let me give a little bit of notes about these two particular whiskeys then. All right. So we have the Ballantruan 10. Heavily peated at 55 p.m. 55 p.m. is sort of the typical range for lower Islay whiskeys, Ardbeg, Laphroaig, Lagavulin. They have some older Ballantruan. There's a non-age statement, Old Ballantruan. There's some, I think there's like a 15-year-old Old Ballantruan. This is the 10-year-old. It's aged in ex-bourbon cask, American white oak. It's non-chill filtered, has natural color, bottled at 50% alcohol by volume. And look at the first thing that's going to catch my attention, and if you're going to compete between these two, is look at the price. Look at the price between it. They're fairly close. So the other one in the green bottle is with a Peaty Tang. This is Tomintoul with a Peaty Tang. It's actually a marriage of peated and unpeated whiskeys. This information is a little challenging to get. It's aged in 4-5-year-old peated malt and 8-year-old, 45-year-old. Oh, this is a goof here. It should, I got a typo here. This should be 45-year-old peated malt and 8-year-old unpeated malt. That's a typo. Sorry about that. It's presumed to be cold chill filtered and probably has a little added E150. Bottled at 40% alcohol by volume, and sells for about $53. So I had a typo there on my notes there. One of the things, if you saw my previous video, is I made a comment about Tomintoul with a Peaty Tang, reminding me of an Irish whiskey in terms of its mouthfeel and some of the fruit characteristics. But if you look at the bottle, even the bottle, because of the color of the bottle, it's really got that sort of Irish green. Not that there aren't plenty of Scotch bottles that have a green, but the whole theme of the color and the tube that it comes in has sort of an Irish coloring, Irish green to it. At least it reminds me of an Irish whiskey. So one's 40 ABV, the other one's 50 ABV, one is 55 parts per million. One, I don't know what the ppm. One is a blend of peated malt and unpeated malt, but the price range is fairly close, at least in terms of what I paid for. Only about a $7 difference between the two. All right. All right. Check out any questions people have. Tomintoul do not do spontaneous tours. Right. To my own experience, nice place and people do it, but truly something that looks like the rest got cut off there. Truly an industrial site. Okay. Right. If you look at the buildings of Tomintoul Distillery, it's not a fancy schmancy building, right? There are some very, 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 very pretty distilleries, some old, some modern, like the new Macallan Distillery. I mean, it's like Disneyland, you know, very, 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 very ultra modern. But there are some other distilleries that sort of have that sort of old, quaint look to them. You have your farm distilleries, like Ardbeg. You know, they had the old farmhouses that they're using for the warehouses for the casks and so forth. So yeah, if you look, it looks beautiful because of the snow. And there's some other video clips out there in which probably springtime, and it's beautiful because it's green. It's in a beautiful place in Speyside. Now, don't get me wrong, the surrounding place is absolutely beautiful. It's a beautiful region to visit. I would like to go back and maybe even just spend 2 weeks just in that region and do some hiking. You know, of course, I always like to visit castles and see the standing stones and all that kind of stuff. Mark Saliba, if I'm pronouncing him correctly. Thank you very much for tuning in. So it's in a very, 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 very beautiful place, but the distillery itself is pretty utilitarian, right? The distillery itself is not much to look at. Taste and sensibility, a $10 super chat. Thank you very much. Teacher says, every time my Glencairn rings, an angel gets his wings. But looking for the Old Ballantruan 10 or anything else. So they have other whiskeys. You need to go onto the website and look at their entire lineup. Their 12-year-old is only in either Oloroso cask or, oh shoot, now I can't remember. So the 12-year-old is done in special cask. About 95% or more of their whiskeys that they produce are bourbon cask. They are heavy bourbon cask. They don't use a lot of sherry cask. So they only have a couple special bottlings that they use sherry. So if you're a sherry cask lover, Tomintoul is probably not where you're going to go. You're going to go to Glendronach. You're going to go to Glenrothes. You go to Macallan. You go to the ones that produce you go to Abelauer. Abelauer is excellent for sherry cask. So Tomintoul is more of a bourbon cask producer. However, they're one of the very few that produce a peated out there in the Highlands and Speyside area. Not only a peated, but two peated. And so let's get into this right now. All right. Which one do I like better? And yet, you probably already gonna guess where I'm going with this. But where is there a niche or a place for the other? So color-wise, it's kind of funny. And of course, cameras don't always do really, really well. The one on my left, the Peaty Tang, slightly lighter in color. It's a little more pale in color. The Old Ballantruan is a little darker, mostly probably because of the cask. The Peaty Tang is sort of shiny and bright. Or if you put together, shiny and bright, shite. Anyway, it's a little bit brighter. So they get the color. If they're using E150 in the Peaty Tang, they've got it pretty close. But there's also a slight, again, this is hard to see as well. There's a slight green tinge to it. slight green tinge to it, which reminds me of a little bit of Ardbeg 10 or the 5-year-old, the Wee Beastie. It's got a little bit of that color in there. Now, they don't state that it has E150 in it. I don't know. If they're not, then they're getting all that from bourbon cask. So the master distiller, Robert Fleming, when I was talking about this earlier. When I first started off, I was preparing to do this series. I sent emails to all the various distilleries saying I'm going to review new whiskeys. Only 3 responded. Which, hey, if you have someone has a channel, particularly if it's a large channel, and they're going to basically give you free publicity for your whiskey, for your product, right? You pay money to get whiskey reps, risky reps to go out there and talk about your whiskeys. Here's someone who's doing it for free. I mean, at least they could do is give you the information you're requesting, right? All right. So I send an email to the distillery through their info section on the website. I got a response back. Now, what I was expecting was, an admin, someone in an office, someone maybe working in PR, someone, something like that. That's who you think is going to respond. What I got back was an email from the master distiller responded. Robert Fleming sent me back an email. I was like, which I thought was really, really, really. Hey, Dustin, how you doing, man? He actually responded back, and I was like, whoa, that totally blew me away. Interesting note. I don't think related, but my middle name is Fleming. It was my grandmother's, my paternal grandmother's maiden name. So maybe somehow or distantly related. Along with Ian Fleming, guy who wrote James Bond, and Peggy Fleming, the 1969 ice skating champion of the Olympics. Anyway, I'm probably the only one who remembers that kind of stuff. Stephen Crabtree, how you doing, man? All right. So I like the Peaty Tang. I've got few people who had made negative comments on it. Part of my method of the way I do things, I'll do a neck pour off camera. I'll try it neat. I'll try it with a little bit of water, particularly more in the summertime, but I might try it with ice, but usually that's in the summertime. I like to get it down below the shoulder and at least to basically where the label goes. Come up with my own concepts, my own ideas, my own notes, my own perceptions, note the differences. One of the things you probably seen, I mentioned this before in another video, I'll put a pour some and put, a lid on it and let it sit there for a couple hours. Maybe I'll pour it in the morning before I go to work. Try it again when I come home from work. Sometimes I'm watching a movie. I'll pour a glass, sit there, and over a 2-hour movie, have this much over 2 hours, and note the differences in time as it opens up over those 2 hours. But maybe it's the occasion. Maybe it's because I'm in the mood. Maybe it's because I'm having a good time. Maybe it's because it's Friday. All right. Your circumstances can affect your perceptions. You're in the mood for whiskey. It's a little cold. I'm wearing a pullover, hoodie, which makes it more in the mood, better than in the middle of summer. But it's tasting better now than it was when I did my review. But the psychological circumstance you can be in can have that sort of impact, So you have to be aware of that. You just have to be aware of it. But right now, in my video, and I know some people might think I'm crazy, I thought it was seeming a little Irish in terms of its mouthfeel, in terms of its texture, in terms of the fruit characteristics. Now it's not. And I almost feel like I should do a re-review. Hey, forget that video. That guy's nuts. Here's my re-review. It's now just a little bit going a little bit more towards our begginess. Just a little bit, not a lot. But the hyper fruitiness is, and the tropical character is probably backed off just a little bit. Michael Hassler says Fleming's little animals that follow later. No, that's lemmings, not Flemings. Flemings. No, that's a lemming. I would say the smoke character is probably a little bit more integrated into the whiskey rather than, just a whiff of smoke and a lot of fruity tropical characters. So it's becoming just, I don't mean I could confuse it with an Ardbeg, but just a little bit more. and a little bit less like an Irish whiskey. It's still lighter, like an Irish whiskey. There's a lot of Irish are at 40 ABV. It still somewhat has the sort of glossy, silky mouthfeel of an Irish whiskey. So you had to do a little bit of mouth cleanse there, swish around a little bit of water. So I think it has its place. I think if I was looking for a whiskey that I wanted to, a little bit of a peat to go into a cocktail, I wanted a Scotch with a little bit of peat, a moderate, not low, but moderate amount of peat and some fruitiness. This might work. This might work really, really well in that character. I'm not a big cocktail guy, but I think it'd work that way. Be Silva says, "How can I order one of your whiskey coins?" Okay, hold on. In fact, I'll be mailing out some in the near future. I just had a couple of people ask for them. So this is one of my whiskey coins. Some people use them as covers for. So if you set $20. $20 to my email address. Hold on. To Erik Wait, ERIKWAIT @yahoo.com. I should make a banner that I could put up here. I'll do it next time. I'll do it next time. So if someone asks, I could bring up a banner and it'll be a pop-up and it'll have it on there. So yeah, it's a heavy ass coin. So $20, that covers shipping and everything else. Just a flat $20. To try to figure out, okay, if you're in Canada, you pay customs. If you're in this and this, if you're in Europe, customs. No, I figured things will even out. Yeah, just $20 covers it all, right? So $20. So via PayPal at erikwait @yahoo.com. So if you're going on PayPal, erikwait @yahoo.com, don't forget to include your address. Do not forget to include your address. Don't forget to include your address. I've had a couple people order a coin and they didn't include your address. I don't have any psychic powers, right? If you just want to donate $20, that's cool. You know, that's fine. But if you want a coin, you got to give me your address because otherwise I have no way to get it to you. And Eric's your friend if you give him money. Absolutely. Or buy me a dram. So on that note, I'm going to say I've been blessed where I'm financially capable to support this whackery, right? So, but always the coins are more for me to make a connection with you. The purpose, really, what I wanted to do with the coins was travel around, visit, and meet people, have meetups, and meet people, and give them a coin in their hand. That's the primary way I want to give you a coin, is meet you and give you one of my calling cards. I always send one of my calling cards along with it and meet you. How you doing? Shake your hand. Let's drink a dram, and I give you a coin. That's the way I want to distribute these. Of course, can't get to everybody in the world, but that's the primary way I want to distribute these coins. But due to COVID, I was going to do a whole tour around Texas and so forth. But for those who can't meet up with me, that's how you get it. All right, enough about the coin. I don't have any. I have. So I'm financially doing okay to where I can support this, and I have some absolutely superb Patreons who are supporting me as well. I'm almost breaking even in terms of costs. I'm about 75% there, breaking even in terms of costs and from ad revenue. And I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about this and Patreons. And just almost breaking even. All right, let's get back to the whiskeys. I'm not into pushing swag. All right, let's move on into the Ballantruan. Now, I love this. Hey, George Sivert. It's I'll meet you at Eli's. Okay, cool. So there's a whiskey shop about 1.25 miles from where I live. And I'll have to talk to Eli about this. He's the owner of it. Eli is an absolutely fantastic dude. The shop is called Bourbon Wine and Spirits. Bourbon Wine and Spirits in Roseville, California. Takes me 4 minutes to drive there. It's at 5005 Foothills Boulevard in Roseville, California. So if you're in the Sacramento, California area, and you can head over to Roseville, You go to bourbon, and he's not paying me to do this. I don't make any money off the dude. We don't have any, sponsorship or anything like that. But Eli is the owner, really, really great guy. Sometimes I'll pop in just to say hi. I try to pop in, say hi, and just look around. Great guy. And George is another guy. George on the as well. Another old salt Marine like myself. And there's a guy named Erik that works there as well. If you're ever in the area, hey, Erik, just let me know. Erik, I'm going to be in the area. I'm going to drop in a bourbon, wine, and spirits. Like to meet you. Cool, no problem. After work, weekends, I'll head on down there, meet up with you, and bring you one of my coins. And maybe, depending on if I think you're cool, I'll bring you over to my house, and we could drink a few at my house, right? I was planning on having events at my house, but the COVID crap, that's the way that goes. All right, Mike Bennett, thank you much for the $10. $10 in honor of your 10,000 subscribers. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So 10,000 subscribers. Imagine a place where there's 10,000 people in it. That blows my mind. It blows my mind. A lot of people, when they hit that 10,000 mark or 1,000 mark, they have a special live stream. Hey, let's celebrate 10,000. I thought about it and decided not to because that's more about me. 10,000, which is fine. And I don't have a problem with that. I really like to keep this live stream content about the whiskey and about you all, about focusing on the whiskey and the place and chat hanging about whiskey rather than I got, 10,000, subscribers. I am blown away by it. I'm really, really happy by it. It's been a lot of hard work to get there. Jack White, thank you, sir, for another going on to 100,000. That would be awesome. 100,000. Thank you for the $9.99. So $10 means you sent the money via a computer. $9.99 meant you sent it by a smartphone. For some reason, you can't send an even $10 on via smartphone. I don't know why. But thank you, Jack. Thank you very much, man. I really wanted to keep this, and again, we'll get back on track. Keep this about the whiskey, not focus on the $10,000. But I am sincerely grateful for everyone's support, for those who watch and those who tune in either live on the replay. And it's a benchmark, and there'll be another one. I'll press on upward and onward. My goal is to continue to improve the channel. There's a lot of work. There's a lot of learning. You have to learn about the video production, editing. You have to learn obviously about a lot about whiskey. You learn a lot about the YouTube environment platform and how to navigate the platform. That's one of the most challenging. And I have about 5 or 6 different whiskey YouTuber gurus that I follow and learn from and become friends with to learn about that. So there's a lot to learn and there's a lot of work. I'm not putting out content 7 days a week. 5 shorts, which are basically YouTube's version of TikTok. 2 regular reviews, 10, 15 minutes, and then 1 live stream. So, but not a lot of work. And I enjoy it. I like the variety of the different things I'm able to do. All right, let's get back into the whiskey. Enough to talk about. Let's get back into the whiskey. I'll be honest with you. You ever? I didn't have this problem. I grew up with 4 brothers, and we're all very, very, very different. Different gifts, different skills, different interests. None of us are a lot. We have a common. I would say we have a common sense of humor, and there were certain things we had in common. Things that we grew up with. Star Trek. We pretty much all like Star Trek, Star Wars. But other than that, academically, we're very, 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 very different. Academically, in terms of our personal interests, our passions, very, 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 very differently. But there's some families where there's like someone who's a star in the family, they're always the A student, they're the top of the class, or they're the star athlete in the family, or they're more well behaved. Why can't you be like your brother? Why can't you be like your sister? You know what I mean? And maybe siblings, they don't like being compared to their older sibling, or even sometimes the younger siblings more well behaved, or whatever. Why can't you be more like Susan or whatever? I think there's going to be a little of that going on with these two. Why can't you be a little bit more like the Old Ballantruan, huh? What's your problem? Why can't you be more like the Old Ballantruan? You know, the Old Ballantruan's like, yeah, man, I'm the star of the class. Yeah, I'm the really good one. I think there's going to be a little of that going on here, right? And so as if I'm their parents, these are my children. Johnny is special and Susan is special, or Mary or whatever. They have their different gifts and we love them both equally, right? Because parents, you can't have your favorite child. You know, most parents probably do. But, and I'm sure if you were to talk to Robert Fleming, which one do you prefer? Which one's your favorite? That would probably be the response he'd give you. You know, I don't know, maybe not. Maybe he'd tell you straight up, yeah, I prefer the Old Ballantruan. But getting the Old Ballantruan, barbecue. It's got the savory character, the salty character. This is the one that could easily fool you for an Isla. This could easily fool you for an Isla. It's got the chocolate. It's got a little bit of the nuttiness. It's got that wafting barbecue smoke. It's got savory notes, a hint of nuttiness, caramels, chocolate, grilled fruit, and grilled meat. Derek K., thank you much for tuning in. How much have I had to drink? Actually, not. I've been doing more chatting than drinking. This is awesome. Wow. Michael Gonzalez, thanks for tuning in. One of the tricks, so if I have a guest on, while they're talking, you sip, and then while they're sipping, you talk. It's the best way to, you don't have dead air. Likewise, if you have a co-host, on the channel, because how do I keep you guys entertained when I'm taking a sip, right? Because you got dead air, right? So the best thing I do is give you my happy noises. I not only am I a singer, I'm a person who makes happy noises when I drink my whiskey. And you say wow a lot. Michael Gonzalez says he may have pre-gamed. No, I didn't have any whiskeys before I came on. I've done that before though, where you have just before going into peat, you have something lighter peated, like Johnny Walker Black or something like that. So I have done that. Or if you're going to go into sherry cask, you take something a little bit different, just sort of warm up the palate so it's not so much of a shock. Your first sip of alcohol, whether it's or wine, will do it to where it's like boom. You know what I mean? It's like that sort of a shock of the alcohol. So sometimes before you can do an official tasting, and do it with wines as well. Before you do a blind tasting, you take something that's real hot, a little bit more neutral and high acid. Maybe a Riesling, maybe some like a Chablis could be good. To sort of something that has a little alcohol in it, but it's not super punch of flavor. Yeah, something to wet the whistle, George. Right. Something to wet the whistle. So prime the pump. And before you get into doing actual tasting, that way you don't have that same sort of shock to the palate when you do an actual blind tasting, particularly if you're going through an exam. You can do the same thing with the whiskeys. So there's some, in fact, it's actually a good point to talk about this whiskey. Another use for this whiskey, if you're going to have a peated night, where you're going to do a whole bunch of peated whiskeys, this might actually have a place. As we'll start with this, right? Because it's partially unpeated malt, and then we'll work our way up into heavier peated, wrapping it up with, say, we would wrap it up with the Supernova or say an Octomore, right? That would be the end. So you start with something lightly peated, or you could do what was that other one? You could do, excuse me. You could do the Ardmore lightly peated. I have a Wolfburn lightly peated, which I'll get into later on. So you can start off with lightly peated, and I think this could have that same sort of play as well. I think it's got a place, but for me, what really gets me going, is the Ballantruan. Now, it's got a higher ABV, so it's got a little bit more heft. I love the barbecue. I love the savory. It's got the sweetness going on. I love the chocolates going on there. I love the barbecue sauce. I love the little bit of saltiness there. I love the chocolate, darker chocolate character on there. I love the, as you breathe in right now, I can't smoke and I don't smoke, but it's just that I've been smoking. There's that kind of hovering of the peaty smokiness goodness in your palate that I absolutely love. And it's got that real nice sweetness in the core of it. It starts off sweet and finishes. It's actually sort of gets a little bit more dry on the finish. Mostly has a smoky, lingering finish. This is the one that rings my bell. So I'm not going to get into it. So my next video that I'll be doing, I'll show you what's coming up soon. Where is it? Where'd you put it, Eric? Hold on, just a second. So this will be the next whiskey I'll be reviewing. This is the Highland Park Cask Strength. Highland Park Cask Strength. I've only done a neck pour thus far. I'm telling you, man, it's like 63.5% alcohol by volume, if I recall correctly. Unchill filtered, natural color. This is a wowzer. That's all I'm going to say for now. Okay, I've only had a neck pour. In fact, I had it last night. That is a wowzer. I know a lot of people give Highland Park a lot of guff for all their silliness, right? They got a lot of silliness in terms of their branding shtick and all that, and they have 50 gazillion bottles with different names and all the Viking this and Viking that, and and all that silliness, right? But I'm telling you, that whiskey, if you can, I'm telling you right now, I'm just giving you so those who watch on live stream, a preview. If you can find it, buy it. That's all I'm saying for right now. It's on price. The actual review of it should be, if I don't get it done by Sunday, it'll be posted by next Wednesday. It's a wowzer. It's also a smack upside the head, right? That's not a whiskey you're going to drink straight. It's a wowzer. But anyway, back to Tomintoul. I know Tomintoul says, so if someone Tomintoul is watching this, Eric, don't talk about a brand. Just talk about a brand. Hey man, I'm not your rep. You're not paying me. All right. So we'll get back in Tomintoul. Absolutely superb. I don't remember what I scored this. I'd have to go back and look at it. If I were to score it again, I'm probably going like 93, 94 points. 93, 94 points. So maybe 93, 92, 93, 90, somewhere in the lower 90s. It definitely has the development, the complexity, the changes from the front to the middle and to the finish. It has that wow factor. It has that factor. I would say you're mostly getting earthy, peaty chocolate character on the finish. I wish some of the fruit character stuck around, right? The barbecue stuff character, always that stuck around into the finish. So I would like to, what's in the mid palate, I would like to drag that out into the finish, right? Now, I'm going to drink some water. I'm going to go back to the Peaty Tang. All right. It's hard to completely rinse your mouth with peat whiskeys because it's still hanging around. But Dustin says Peaty Tang. I keep hearing putty tang. I taught a putty tat. It's a putty tang. All right. I will say this. For the Peaty Tang, something that's got going, the fruity character, that sort of pineapple, tropical, melon, lemon, lime character, goes from the mid and into the finish. It's not all smoke. So that I would say that is something it's definitely got going for it. That it doesn't finish with a mouthful of ash or a mouthful of smoke. Some of that more of the what's in the mid palate in terms of the fruit character is carrying over into the finish, and I think that gives it a plus. I think I gave it like 80, if I recall correctly, I gave it like 87 points, somewhere around there. What I would like is a little more oomph. That's probably it. I think it's well balanced. It's got nice for what it's got. It's pretty much the same front, middle, and in the finish, except for what is in the middle gets pulled into the finish, which is good. It doesn't drop off, right, and just give you a bunch of ash, a mouthful of ash. So the fruitiness maintains, right? I'll say there's a lot of peated whiskeys that they finish with ashiness, or they finish with just with smoke and fruity characteristics, the fruity esters that come from fermentation, or maybe extracted from a cask. Because you can get fruit from, particularly if it's, obviously wine finished whiskeys, and get fruitiness from the cask. Most fruity esters characteristics come from fermentation. But I would say this, it does have that sort of a lingering into the finish of some of those fruity notes. I like that. And if it didn't have that in the finish, I would take it down to probably like 85. I'd take it down to 85. That's its saving grace. But having said that, what if you always it's kind of like the Cragganmore 12. Cragganmore 12. If you haven't had it, it's 40 ABV, and for a 40 ABV whiskey, it's really good. It's got good complexity, good fruit characteristics, and I've had this conversation with Roy Aquavite. But it leaves you hanging with, but what if? What if it was more higher ABV? It doesn't have to be cask strength, but what if it had higher ABV? It would be so much better. So, and that's going to be sort of my conclusion somewhat. And I'm sort of, spoiler alert, with the Highland Park, and I've only had a neck pour thus far, I think it's fantastic. I don't think you want to drink it that neat. I think it's like taking Motorhead and turning it up to 12. It's like, it's loud enough, dude. You don't need a Motorhead at 12. But I think that's sort of what's going on. So it's going to take some water. It's going to take some ice. Kind of like Balcones. If you haven't had a Balcones, holy cow. The Balcones, the Hechiceros, and the Brujeria, superb whiskeys. Brujeria, it's like a whiskey concentrate. Like you buy your orange concentrate in a canister, and you got to add water to it. That's what Balcones is like. You can't imagine drinking it straight. At least the Brujeria or the Hechiceros. The Highland Park cask strength is like that. You're gonna want to put something in it to bring it back, because I actually had my tongue and the top of my palate was numb, literally numb from the high ABV. It like my lips, they were turning. It was like it was being inoculated with like you go to the hospital and they give you inoculation to numb you up, or the dentist. They before you have dental work done, they go with the needles and all that crap. If you have a root canal or something, been there, done that. No thanks, doc. Don't need the inoculation. I'm gonna drink a little bit of Highland Park cask strength here. That's kind of what it's like. I like it. It's fantastic. Great flavors, but you're going to have to bring it back just a little bit. All right. So DH Silv 2. In case you guys don't know DH Silv 2, one of my moderators, his name is Dustin. So if you hear me saying Dustin, that's what I'm referring to. He's got his name's in blue and he's got the wrench. Have you had any of the 10 to 15-year-old single casks that Highland Park has put out over the world? They're shockingly high proof with some oak age. No, I haven't. I've been to the distillery, and by the way, next week, a week from tonight, we're going to be doing Orkney, or I'm going to talk about Orkney, and we're going to talk about Highland Park. So, clues next week. If you're watching this, what we're going to talk about next week, we're going to talk about Highland Park. I was with the Scotch 4 Dummies. I was at a Highland Park dinner in Indianapolis. We tasted a whole bunch of Highland Park whiskeys, and we had them with various pairings. We probably had some in that. I've had my favorite thus far was actually a Douglas Lang Highland Park. The bottle's gone. Absolutely fantastic. Probably the best Highland Park I've ever had. That was at cask strength. That was superb. But the other ones that I have a bottle that I brought back from the distillery, and I have the Magnus. And I've tasted like your standard 12-year-olds and all the other ones. But I haven't had that one. So anyway. Dustin says California had a single cask released for that market. You know what? I don't know if it's still there, but we've heard it as Eli's, the bourbon place on the road. They had a bottle of that. In fact, maybe tomorrow. So tomorrow's Saturday. I'll go down there tomorrow and see if they got it. They had a single cask that, if I recall correctly. I'll go back and check. If they've got it in stock, I'll pick one up just for shits and giggles. But really good. And Dustin says a 28-year-old first fill Cadenhead Highland Park is his favorite. 48.1% Highland Park. 25 is next. Nice. So many distilleries, so many whiskeys, so little time, and my liver can only take so much. And some channels just do Scotch or just do bourbon or just, because I am global in my perspective and approach to whiskeys, I have to be, therefore my experience in tasting and collection gets spread out wide. And this year, if everything goes correctly, I'm still trying to figure out how I want to do it. I want to do a series on Canada and Japanese. Not exactly sure what I want to buy or how I'm going to source and what I want to. But academically, in terms of learning, there are regions I just have to study. I'll probably not as many people will tune in. Maybe, I don't know. We'll find out. But I have some books. I'm probably more looking forward to getting into some Japanese. And I know a lot of the best stuff is going to be insanely expensive, but we'll do what I want to get there. Alrighty. Keith says, "Thank you for sacrificing your liver for us." Hey, it's all for science. Alrighty. So, Ballantruan 10-year-old superior whiskey, obviously over the Peaty Tang. But the Peaty Tang, I wish there was a bigger price. That's probably the, breaking your arm is the prices are too close. 50, at least in terms of my market. What's in your market? I don't know. 53 and 60, I think was the price between two. Of course, if you have to have it shipped, then you're paying for postage. Japanese is way overpriced. I know. And there's some honky crap going on with their industries. I know. But if from an academic standpoint, if you want to understand the world of whiskey, it's one of the major regions, right? Ireland, Scotland, United States, Canada, and Japan in terms of distinctive profiles of whiskey. And Japan has been doing whiskey for close to 120 years. So you can't ignore Japan. Yes, I wish they would get their shit together. I wish they had something equivalent to the Scotch Whisky Association, but without all the political nitpicking. But yeah, I'm not going to wait until they get their shit together. I'm going to do a little bit of research. So Daniel Whittington sent me a couple of resources for people who know their shit when it comes to Japanese whiskey. I'm going to read as much as I can from them and sort of see if I can navigate the best representatives. But there's like 9 major primary distilleries in Japan. I want to focus on studying those and see if I can find some halfway decent representatives from those distilleries. That's my current plan on that. Canada, I'd like to actually go up to Canada, visit the brothers up there. Rob Whiskey and Six and Jason over Jeremy over at Social Sipper Club, and any best I can meet up there, but we'll have to go. Michael Gonzalez says, start Canadian. We'll see how it goes. It's still a work in progress. So for 2021, I started the peated whiskey series, peated Highland whiskey series in 2020. This will finish towards the end of February. My next series, and I mentioned this before, will be on sherry cast whiskeys. We're going to study sherry wine and sherry influenced whiskeys. And I'll have representatives from Fino, Oloroso, Amontillado, Pero Cantado, and Pero Jimenez. I've been buying bottles for quite some time now, probably since last summer, collecting some killer whiskeys. So we'll cover all that, and it'll probably take a couple months to doing that. And so that's probably like and then somehow I haven't worked it out yet. I'm going to do Japan and Canada, and I have some bottles from Texas. I'm going to probably do a short thing on Texas, and I'll probably do another short series, not as long, not 4 months of Ireland, but I'll probably do at least another month sometime of Irish whiskeys. I'm doing some Irish whiskeys this year, but that's the plan for 2021. But we'll see how Providence rolls out and see how it goes. All righty, so we're a little bit over an hour. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. I like to keep it down to an hour, so people watching on the replay. If you haven't had Old Ballantruan and you like peated whiskeys, and you want you want to try a Highland peated whiskey, I will highly, highly, highly recommend getting an Old Ballantruan. They have a 9-age statement, and I think the other one, I'd have to look. I think it's a 15-year-old that they have. They also have a higher age statement as well. So if you can, highly recommend it. Absolutely fantastic whiskeys. All righty. Again, I want to thank everyone for tuning in. We will be here back next week. We're going to look at Highland Park. I want to thank everyone for watching on the replay. If anybody ever has any comments, if you have any questions, leave them down below. If you haven't already, give this video a thumbs up. It helps with the algorithm. All right. Dirty Dog, thank you much for tuning in. It helps with the algorithm so that this video will be recommended to more people. All right. Until next time, again, have a fantastic weekend, and we'll go out with a little bit of rock and roll. Slava.